Welcome. Maybe intro music will happen there. Do 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 do, and some montages and some things that you have to make up for me. Us we. The intro music did not happen. Elaborate montage did not happen. But here's a fun story of how we first met, so you can get to know us a little better.
I will never forgive my generation for ruining club culture.
This Gen Z creator just said that she learned from millennials that we were out there sweating our weave out. Knees put to the test. My first date with my husband was at a club, okay? It was like a scene from a movie, y'all. I met my husband freshman year of college at an NAAC prayer service on campus. He was just a freshman virgin trying to wait until marriage, poli sci major, ironing a crease in his pants like his mama taught him. It wasn't meant to be a date. We went to a club with a group of friends, mostly just my roommates. Mostly I invited him because we had a lot of chemistry. All my roommates rode together, but I rode with him in his old Camaro, his white Camaro. We drove down to Ybor City in downtown Tampa. Neither him nor I drunk, so we were 100% sober on the dance floor. My husband can't really dance, but he can hold a wall, and he knows when I move, he moves. And that was enough. Sorry, my son just came in. He can't hear the story. He's too young. Also, it make him vomit. So the 2000s classics were playing, y'all. Only Bob's, only Bob's. Okay, we picked the right club. We had to jump a bit, but we picked the right one finally. Anyway, it was like a scene from the movie. And as we were dancing, our face kept touching really closely, our lips almost brushing. He later told me that he had decided I had one more time for these little lip face brushes, and then he was kissing me. Dear listener, dear watcher, Beyonce came on. Certified quality. I had trained for a time such as this. The moves were moving. I was watching the music video. We started making out in the club. On the dance floor, we drew a crowd. People were cheering. Yeah, that was our first kiss. We kept kissing. He eventually took me home, and then I was terrified, y'all. Because I was a freshman in college. I'd only seen things on TV. I was terrified he was expecting me to have the sex with him. And y'all, no. I wanted this man like I had never wanted any man in my life. But also my standards were high. I did not know who he was. I didn't know what kind. I don't know if he had the HIV, okay? Anyway, no worries. Did not know he was a virgin trying to save himself from marriage. He walked me to my dorm, gave me a very chaste kiss. I immediately texted every friend and girl I knew from high school because I hadn't made that many college friends yet. Long story short, we've been together 20 years. We have 3 kids. He is my best friend. And going to club, millennial clubbing is just, it's everything you ever dreamed and more. Hi, I'm Samantha Broxton, also known as Raising Self Online.
And I am William Broxton, also known as Samantha's husband.
You're so much more than that.
Thank you.
Yes. Welcome to our couples coffee chat. This is new for us. Trying out some things on the YouTube. And giving us some space to have a little bit deeper conversations and bring you into some of the things that we've learned along the way as spouses, as parents, as people trying to become fully actualized humans in a world who does not want us to be fully actualized humans.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing.
Yeah. One thing I really liked about you when we first met was that you were a person of deep principles, a man that really believed in honesty and integrity and being vulnerable and being dedicated to the person that you are involved with romantically. What do you think was at the root of that for you?
Honestly, it was a huge part of just my general upbringing. Like my parents were ministers. My mom was a teacher. My dad was not a worship pastor. That's way too modern. He was a minister of music for a Pentecostal church and a Baptist church. And then for me, I saw I took the time to see people. I saw my mom. Um, I saw.
That was one of my big green flags. The way you talked about your mother and how you saw like how much she did. You were sensitive to the weight she carried in the house and how much it was dismissed. That was like one of the first things you told me, is that you didn't want to. You wanted to be the kind of husband that would support a woman well at home and spiritually, emotionally, financially. In all regards. And this is before like weaponizing confidence. This is before TikTok and all of this like things. You saw your mother and you had fully fleshed ideas about her, and she was a stay-at-home mom. And a lot of times people dismiss women who do that and provide that kind of support and labor, and you had seen her and had thoughts about the ways that you could and would support your future wife.
Yeah. And then I also saw the work that my dad put in, taking care of and providing, like being that pillar. So they shaped me. Shout out to James and Broxton. And it wasn't just them; it was my maternal grandparents as well. My paternal grandparents passed away before I was born, or really, when I was really small. So, like those values and principles that I was raised with, I took on and I owned them. They weren't just like their values; they were mine.
And how did that happen? How did it go from being like their values? Because a lot of kids are raised around parents with values, right? How do you instill positive values in your, like, how do you think it was installed positively? Because your parents are perfect people. They're like all parents. They have their growth opportunities. But I think you took as much as you could. You actively took in the good.
I mean, I wasn't perfect. I'm still not perfect. But what I did do is, like I said, I took the time to wrestle with things. So like I said, grew up Christian. So I read the Bible. I had questions that I wrestled with at the age of 12 that some people don't wrestle with until their 30s, walking in faith. And like, I think having parents that also encouraged me and weren't afraid of my questions.
Yeah.
Because I was that kid. I asked a ton of questions. Too many, to be honest with you. I asked my siblings. They'll tell you, I was in everybody's business all the time.
You were very cerebral. You were very thoughtful.
So for me, that was the process. Is that like it wasn't just them. I worked it out. Like I took the work to working it out for myself.
Yeah.
So when I was like, no, I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
I do this, or like this is what I do, or like this is what I believe, and like this is how I function. It wasn't some offshoot of like what I thought I should be doing. It was choices that I had made.
Okay. I wanted to ask because when you met me, I grew up Christian, but I was in a place where I just had an immense amount of fatigue and hurt from my experiences with church. First, like the Caribbean church in America, and then like predominantly white churches in America. And I was just tired, but also like I felt like in a lot of ways I might have seemed very different from your mom, because like I was hyper career focused.
That's funny that you said that.
I know I wanted to be married. I know I wanted to have kids, but it wasn't. Those things weren't priorities. Like, were they? Did I feel completely foreign to you?
No, I saw a lot of my mom in you.
I think that is the ultimate compliment.
So again, during the era that my mama was raised, a lot of these things weren't expected or allowed for her to really do. So I feel like if my mom was in a different time period, she would have been like I think she'd had a different life. Even with my dad, even in Gifford, like I think she'd have lived a more vibrant life than what circumstances and things allowed. So for me, I just saw you as like, oh, this is what it would look like, and my mom really would be,
fully actualized, all the things. And I want to say that your mom did have she had vibrancy to her life, but I think there's levels and heights that that there were barriers for her to get to.
And both y'all were weird.
Yeah, we're quirky. We're quirky black girls. We are. Your mom is so quirky. She's so funny. Yeah, she's like I always felt like one thing I did notice immediately. It was like your mom was just like such a powerful person, like a big person. Like she filled a room. And if she wasn't trying to, she was always she'll be often quiet, but when she laughed, she cackled, and when she said something, she joked.
That was my grandparents.
Oh.
That was Janie and Jim Pierce. everything about them was understated and impactful. Yeah. So even a lot of what I think you saw from me was a good combination of my, like, obviously upbringing my parents, but a lot of it was a combination of my dad and my grandfather.
Mm. What was your dad and what was your maternal grandfather?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think was your dad and what was your maternal grandfather?
I think a lot of the slow the slow Southern charm was definitely granddad, and then a lot of the prep and peacockness was my dad.
Your dad is such a peacock. This man is like oil sheen spray crease. Like he likes to look good. He likes to be complimented. He likes to be seen. He does. He does. He is like, yeah. He likes to look good. He likes to look good. That's true. That's peacockery to the full.
But you talked about like your relationship with, you know.
Now you're a toddler and we ain't locked the door. Lord. Hi. We're not a good time.
You gotta be quiet, okay?
You gotta be quiet, right? Okay. Close the door at least.
No. Okay, yeah, you sit here.
Okay. Doing this as parents. Okay. What were you about to say?
I asked a question. So I was asking a question. No, Kai, we said we gotta be quiet. Right? Shh. To you.
You be quiet. We're talking. Okay, go ahead.
So what was it like for you? Like, kid. So go ahead, put your ice cream.
All right. Okay, we're doing good. Sometimes you just gotta pop out and bribe a toddler. Yeah, Lisa give you ice cream. Aww.
Alright, so you've already talked about our first date, our first few interactions. But like, what was the main thing for you that you was like, okay, this might be the guy?
Gosh. We spent a lot of time in the beginning talking on the phone, falling asleep talking on the phone, like so cliche. And
You liked it.
I liked it a lot. You were a combination of things that were really important to me. You were incredibly kind. You were incredibly thoughtful. You were really funny, and you and you were so kind, thoughtful, funny, and you were very passionate about your faith, and I felt really safe with you, right? Like I just didn't feel like you were gonna scam me, that you were gonna like
Scam you?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of scamming that men do to women, catfishing, bait and switching that happens in dating, where they're cosplaying interest and kindness and loveliness so that they can, as a means to an end, to then just like shatter you, right? And I know that even the best of intentions, a relationship can end badly, but some people are genuine villains. Like they're led by deceitful like spirits and demons, and it shows up in the way they navigate romantic love. And even if they try to buckle down and change for a person, like those are so seeds that you've sown in yourself and that you've planted in your spirit, and like that's dangerous. Like you're gonna bear, whether you or your children or somebody gonna bear the fruit of that villainy, that intentional villainy. But for you, like, not to say we didn't have mistakes and heartbreaks and bumpiness,
because we did.
Oh, we did. But like for me, just like you were overwhelmingly good. And for me, I always grew up with a high value for goodness.
There's none good but the Father.
There's none good for the father. You're right. That's scripture. No, but that was the father in you.
Nice try. But
no, but you had a spirit of kindness. You had a spirit of gentleness. You had a spirit of true intimacy and truthfulness and trust. And you walked in that. You walked in that at like 18, 19, quite unabashedly and quite transparently.
So what about for you?
Mm-hmm.
When we met,
Mm-hmm.
your goals and priorities were very different.
Yeah. Yeah.
How so?
I mean, like, I'm a work in progress always. I'm constantly transforming. A lot of who I was rooted in my trauma. Growing up poor, growing up, like, with, like, seeing an immense amount of brokenness in my parents' relationship. Growing up, feeling like my true value was in my labor and what I could provide in that sense. And, like, being skeptical about love while being open to it, right? Being very careful because, I grew up with all these stories of heartache from Caribbean women. All these stories, like second families in the United States and then one family in the Caribbean, cheating, emotional neglect and abuse. Like there were so many like horror stories and warning tales that they were trying to give to the younger women to like, I don't know what the point. I think maybe so we would learn and protect ourselves to like not to like be really like.
Don't be the cautionary tale.
Yeah. I mean, like there was someone. I remember there was like a gentleman in our community. This is like so crazy. Like that was dying when I was in elementary school and middle school of AIDS. Middle school of AIDS. His romantic partner had cheated on him, and they were very like, yo, be careful, the streets,
Yeah.
And I remember like at middle school wrestling with the idea that this person gave you this disease and it's killing you. And I remember him being alive and being sickly and then being dead. And so like, I was like, yeah, love is good, but it ain't worth all that. It ain't worth all that. So, yeah.
Love, particularly, or like intimacy?
For me, like.
Or I should say, like, are we talking about like?
For me, it went hand in hand. Like.
Okay. So, but was your mom trying to prevent you or stop you or warn you against love or warn you against?
Both.
Oh.
Love is hard. Like, I really was raised with this idea that love could be heartache, like deep, despairing heartache. I saw more examples of that than happy love. Like, the thing is, like, these people did not put on airs in the Caribbean community that I was in. Like, they wore their stories and their heartache on their sleeves. So, like, I paid attention and I collected the narratives. I'd hear the things that my mom would say on the phone in her language, and I would see people come and go, disappear, and I would hear
what language?
Creole, Asian Creole.
What did you say?
Oh, I mean, just you'd hear the stories. You'd hear it on the phone with a friend or a dude. God, Messier,alité. Oh, Jésus, la vie a dit. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, that was saying, oh, that guy, he did this. Oh, life is hard. Mm. I heard that so much.
I heard that.
La vie a dit.
Life is hard.
Yeah. So, like, I think I had, like, a very, like, practical, brutally practical and honest idea of what life and love could be. And I also think because of that, I also like constantly prayed that I didn't live like that. So maybe it was good because I know what to pray for. Where did you pray? What was your prayer? Like they like to always ask Ciara about Russell. And my prayer was like, God, don't give me a love that's unkind, that's broken, that's unfaithful, that's filled with resentment and an underlying current of hate.
I don't remember praying about love. for me, I distinctly remember praying hardcore when I was young. Like, Lord, please, God, do not let me go to hell in the church.
Yeah.
I was like,
You want to be Matthew 24 in it? Is it Matthew 24?
I don't know, like,
The one was like, when you get to the gates and be like, God, I
I
prophesied in your name and I
no.
terrorized a group of people.
I was like, Lord, if
with
I'm
your word.
going to do this, if I'm going to serve you, please, God, let me do it well, let me do it right. Because if I'm going to go to hell, let me earn it. Let me go to hell the right way. You know what I mean? Let me know, like, no, I punched this ticket. I did this. I earned it. Yep.
I was in the streets.
The streets was my home.
But even with that, I couldn't imagine you weren't being in the streets, being like
Why?
wild and just
Why?
I don't know.
It was a choice.
That is true.
I could have done that at any particular time.
Yeah, because we know stories from people in our lives.
No, beyond even from that, like,
yeah.
I think people make something that is very simple, convoluted, and complex. You make a choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
you do. You just wake up and choose.
You choose. So, like, I remember distinctly, like, several times throughout my life when things would happen and, like, I had a choice. And I'm grateful that the majority of those times, the majority of my life has been, like, me looking at the situation and being able to look through, like, what was just here and kind of see, like, what was on the other side of the consequences and repercussions and being like, all right, nah, I'm good. Or having enough discernment and trusting God, be like, all right, you said this, Lord, so I'll just move. I'll just do this. Although, like, I really want to do X, Y, and Z, I'm just gonna do A, B, C. So
I'ma do me.
I've done enough of me. When I do me, and
I'm tired of you, Lord. Me is exhausted, Jesus.
To me and those around me. Yeah. I actually think if we're gonna call these coffee chats, we should get coffees.
Yeah, we should get coffee. We'll do that next time.
And then, like, we should really just, like, sit down and then talk about our coffees and what we got and what we get it.
Ooh, that'd be fancy. Pretend there's coffee in there. I'm like, lift your hand up. I'll add sticker coffee. Here's a coffee chat with Sam and Will. What's the matter?
It's a low budget. Kids downstairs coffee chat.
Yes.
We'll get real coffee soon.
Special shout out to my sister who came so that we could have.
No, she came. She got set up.
She came to hang out with me.
That's not what we were doing. That wasn't the plan.
She came to hang out with me, and then she watched the baby. Thank you, my love.
What's the value? What are we doing? What else?
Hopefully we impart wisdom. Hopefully we have conversation starters. Hopefully maybe there's something in the comments that stirs something that we can speak to more specifically. One of the things, and you know what, one of the subsequent episodes is we'll talk about, like, our journey through love a little bit more. I could write a book.
You should write. You have several books you're supposed to be
writing.
writing.
I am filled with books. Yeah, I could write a book, my love. Oh
books.
My God, books on books, and then one fiction, just one really good fiction book. If I know I have one wonderful work of slight science fantasy fiction in me.
Why am I so dark? What is lighting? What's up with the lighting? Is just my...
Maybe it's because it's slightly more to the right. One of the things I think it's really interesting in this response to, like, the oppression of the patriarchy, and I think, like, what's an interesting thing is, like, you are so complex. Like, you are both, like, a very traditional Christian man who's also very much a womanist in a lot of ways. And womanism is like black feminism, because sometimes feminism by itself can be like, it's not inclusive enough.
I don't know enough about it to tell you that I am or not. But I can tell you.
I do know that you support women.
I apply the scriptures the way they need to be applied with context and application. And I do my best to be like, Lord, like I said, So I remember distinctly, I would hear this all the time growing up in the church. Women are to submit themselves to their own husbands, over and over and over and over again. And I was like, yo, keep reading. What's the very next line? Husbands are to love their wives like Christ loves the church.
Yeah. Did it die?
It's this hot temperature, the lights on it.
Oh, darn it. What were we talking about?
That's not the official name for it, but okay.
Okay, we submit unto the church. Like God loves the church. Like Jesus loves the church. Continue.
Yeah, so understanding that like the posture that I'm supposed to have is to a place of like service. And for me to serve means to have compassion and to care and to be present. And that's just not for my wife, but for these kiddos and the whole nine. So, yeah.
Like you too fight against the patriarchy. You too fight against the oppression of women, especially Black women. Especially like the fear of them as leaders in and out of the home in church spaces. You know, you pastored for years, but the executive pastor was a woman of color, and you guys worked so well together. And I think that you guys did work so well together because like you truly respected her professionally and interpersonally. And you don't take like you don't be flare up in pride and different things when if you guys disagreed or function. And
Why would I?
I don't know, people have a lot
Because,
of arrogance.
like, because she's a woman?
Sometimes it does. Like it triggers something latent and strange.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, luckily, we're all involved. My validation is a human. It's not assigned to my
Gender. Yeah.
That's
not a lot of people.
No, I know who I am, who I've been created to be.
Yeah.
I walk in it fully.
Mm-hmm.
But I also understand the responsibility of that. I got daughters and sisters, and a sister, and a mother, and a wife.
Yeah.
Sorry, I said daughters.
Yeah, you
have singles of all of those things.
Yeah. You have a daughter and a sister.
Of all those things. So just
one.
one.
Yeah, you have one of each. That's so true. Cousins. You could say that. That's plural. I think as we wind down this conversation, because I think we've gotten a lot of...
I don't love how all over the place it is. We'll get better.
It is, yeah. It is all over the place, but it's okay, because we are kind of all over the place. And I think as we release this, and if it finds its root in its audience, we can have more focused conversations.
Can y'all throw out some stuff? Like, is there anything you want us to talk about? And
all
then hop into a topic.
All right. Thank you for sitting with us. It was a little all over the place, but I think we'll tighten it up as we find our rhythm with this.
Yeah, for sure.
Welcome. Thank you for coming to Couples Coffee Chats with Samantha and William.
And Kai.
And Kai, because he will not respect our... Yes.
Yeah. He don't care.
He don't care.
You're not a puppy.
You're not a puppy. You're not a puppy.
You're not a puppy.
And if you're going to do this, you got to at least put on a shirt.
All right.
Bye.
Oh, thank you. He said, "Where you go?" You can put the chair down. Cheese.